Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome once again to Full Fat Spoiler Chat, the show in which we look at some sort of recent bit of nerd entertainment and talk about it in depth with full spoilers, basically putting everything out there, talking about what we liked, what we didn't like, what worked, what didn't, what messages, themes, etc., and so on. Tonight we're going to be talking about Invincible, the Amazon Prime series that just ended last Friday, in its first season, that is. So if you have seen Invincible, great. Jump into the chat. I see people in the chat already. Let us know what you think about it. Let's talk about this show. If you haven't, you probably don't want to have us spoil it, unless you don't mind spoilers, in which case, hang around. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on on Facebook, and Burley_adopter on the Twitters. And joining me tonight is our founder, the man who began this whole shindig, Manny, if you would.
Hey, my name is Manny Ortiz. I'm the founder of Nerd Caliber. Thank you for joining us tonight. This should be a really fun topic.
Yes. Very fun topic. All right, like we usually do, my mic is really quiet according to. Let's bring this mic even a little bit closer here. According to OBS. But anyway, I got it jacked way up. Let's see. Hopefully, people can hear me. Before we get into this, Cody Allen, welcome to the show. Again, with all the warnings about spoilers and so on. But if you've seen it, hang around, chat with us. I think that's where we're at here. All right, cool. All right, so Invincible. Animated, adult animated, as they call it, series on Amazon Prime that just wrapped up its 8-episode run this last Friday. It is an adaptation of the Image Comics published comic book, written by Robert Kirkman and initially co-created by artist Cory Walker, who did all of the design and did the art for the first few issues, 1 to 7, I think. But then the art was taken over by Ryan Ottley. Luminous, welcome to the show. Yes, it was a great season. It really was. We'll definitely get into why that was. Spoiler for our own show. We're kind of giving away the fact that we say was it bloody amazing? Yeah, and it was both. This comic book started back in 2003 and ended in 2018. So there are 15 years worth of issues here for the series to mine into. 144 issues collected into 25 collected volumes,
Wow.
and 3 volumes of the complete Invincible library. So those huge omnibus books, there's 3 of those. So
Mm.
lots of stuff here. Luminous, have you read the comic book? I haven't read it yet. Manny and I were just talking about this. I have not, but it was so popular, and I know so many people who were just so keen on it that I know an awful lot about what happens going forward, depending on how much they decide to change.
Mm.
So, anyway, the basic story is Mark Grayson is our hero, or our main protagonist. He is a high school kid, 17 years old, pretty much a normal kid, part-time job, etc. The one thing that's different about him is his father, Nolan, is the secret identity of Omni-Man, the most powerful superhero on the planet, on Earth, bar none. The series starts and the comic starts with Mark wondering if he's ever going to get his powers. Of course, he does. And at that point, Nolan tells him the reason he has powers is that he is half of an alien from Viltrum, and Viltrumites have these insane powers. Nolan also tells him that the reason he, as a Viltrumite, full-blooded Viltrumite, is on Earth is that the Viltrumites go out all through the galaxy on these benevolent and enlightenment missions to raise up planets. The story follows Mark becoming the hero Invincible, his struggles in trying to figure out how to be a hero, not just how to be a hero and balance his student life, which is pretty typical trope-like, but how to actually be a hero and succeed at it. um, how to deal with the other heroes. There are plenty of other heroes in this Earth, um, and lots of really big surprises, twists, betrayals. It's amazing, um, and that's where it comes from. That's the source of this story. Robert Kirkman, of course, the creator of The Walking Dead. And it's kind of funny if you look at the IMDb listing, an awful lot of the minor, secondary, not minor, but they're only in one or maybe two episodes casts are Walking Dead cast members, which is pretty cool. So, what we usually do at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into what was good about this, what was bad about this. What did we like? What didn't we like? What worked? What didn't work? Feel free to throw in your comments there in the chats about what you thought worked and what didn't, what you liked and what you didn't like, if anything. And we're going to start with likes, and we're going to start with Manny. So, what did you like? What worked for you?
Let's talk first about the animation. The animation was very good, and I love the fact that it's very similar to the art of the comic book. I don't think there's been too many cartoon or animated series where they emulate the comic book as well as this show has when it comes to the art style. They were very faithful. Every character that you saw in the comic books looked just like they did in the series. So I thought that was spectacular. The voice acting, the level of stars and talent in
Oh
this
yeah,
series is amazing.
oh yeah,
Um, I was shocked when Zachary Quinto was the robot. I was like, that sounds so familiar, and I had to keep constantly go to my IMDb page and find out like who's saying this, who's saying that. It's because they were all recognizable.
yeah.
Some
Alan
had
the
smaller
Alien,
parts. Yes,
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so which that was pretty funny. Which he's also a producer, I believe, for
Yes.
this show as well.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought that was great. Story wise, excellent. I only have a few quibbles here and there when it comes to the story a bit, and they're really small. When the Global Guardians got their, well, not their butt kicked, they were just
They
destroyed.
they're
Uh,
everything kicked
yeah.
and torn apart,
Um,
and yeah.
there were some parts of the battle I felt like it's a little silly. Like, okay, Omni Man is extremely powerful. If you're a Batman-like character, I probably wouldn't try karateing him. I thought that was like, okay, that probably would have been a wise thing to do. I noticed that this version of their speedster doesn't have phasing abilities or anything like the Flash would, or else he wouldn't have been destroyed as easy. Well, not as easily, but destroyed the way he was in the series. I thought that was just a little weird, but I was okay with that. It's just I think I equated all that to the fact the shock, that fact that he was attacking them and they trusted him implicitly. Um, See, so okay, you're a part of this organization. You're the leader of this. That you don't, you're this like the CIA, FBI thing, but for superheroes, supervillains, and the fact that you trusted Omni-Man so so 100%. To me, it's a little weird. Like you didn't have any doubts. The fact that his story was kind of strange. That there's a race of Omni people as powerful as them around the galaxy. I don't know. To me, I would have been like, I would have just maybe like, all right, maybe just to be on the safe side, I should take some precautions to in case he goes rogue. I don't know. That's
Well,
a tiny thing.
yeah, but they did. Those precautions they executed on them at in episode 8. Um, and it didn't work that well.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like they didn't weren't as prepared or even thought it or thought as a possibility. That's what it seemed like to me. Like Cecil seemed really uh, felt really betrayed by it, which he
Yes.
might be the first maybe honorable CIA-ish person in a cartoon series. Which is great. That's cool. Um, but those were just little things. Like it made me think about it, but not too much for it didn't take away the enjoyment I have for the series. Um, Another tiny quibble, his girlfriend, which I can't remember her name at the moment.
Amber.
Um, the the fact that she knew who he was, but then got mad at him because he lied that because to save his secret identity at the campus episode. To me, that was a little weird. Like, okay, if you knew who he was, then why did you get angry then and there, knowing that he's going to tell you that he's going to try to cover for his secret identity? I thought it was a little weird, but that's really it. Everything else is just really good story wise. the how everyone reacted to Omni-Man's betrayal, how they all try to deal with that was really amazing. All the secondary characters were excellent. All the villains were great. The team, all those characters are great. I wanted to like strangle or explode a few times, but the fact that I wanted to do that just showed me that okay, I'm really getting this team.
Yeah.
I thought Robot's backstory about um, how he came to be and then what he does once he falls in love with Monster Girl. I thought that was sort of interesting. Um, um, but yeah, I could just go on forever. But yeah, I just like the story is great. This is a really good um, superhero cartoon series. Definitely not for kids.
Yeah, no, no, not even close. Um, so is there anything other than the likes? Obviously, is there anything that you would say really particularly worked for you that they pulled off in a really amazing way?
Um, that fight scene at the end between Omni Man and Invincible was amazing. It's horrific, it's bloody, but yeah, that's probably I one thing that Superman and Justice League Unlimited got a lot of flack for by fans is that he kept holding back his power, kept getting knocked out easily. So like it's like the writers were trying to balance his power level with good storytelling, I guess you could say. So they kind of messed up a bit. They didn't do that with this series.
Yeah,
This I mean the level of destruction that these two made was believable. Yeah, this would happen. This mm, like thousands of people would die if two people of extreme power would fight each other.
yep,
And I'm glad that they didn't do that thing. One thing annoying me, some things about Marvel Comics is that they kept saying the Hulk never killed anybody or anything like that throughout the whole run, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty incredible, because but that seems to me very unbelievable. But in this show, I'm glad they didn't hold back about that.
yeah. Lumina says making it animated appears to have been a very good choice. Normally, I prefer live action, but bigger than live action was better depicted with animation. I agree. And I'll get a little bit of that into comparison. Well, I might as well do it now because it's not a like or dislike; it's a comparison. A lot of people have compared this to The Boys,
Hmm.
and The Boys is a live action superheroes with incredible gore and violence and so on. And I think The Boys pull it off pretty well,
Yeah,
but you couldn't have the fight with the giant um,
Kraken, Cthulhu.
Kraken Cthulhu beast thing at the end, uh, like in The Boys in a live action. Even with Amazon money, I don't think they could have pulled it off.
As well as the Boys is a great series, but they've changed a lot of stuff in the Boys so that it could fit in a real world live setting.
Right.
Like for example, like the Boys, the characters actually have powers besides the female. They don't have them in the TV show.
I think they're going to get them in the second season. I don't know that, but that seems to be where they're
Oh,
headed.
third season.
A third season. You're right. Third season. Um. So, but and in this animated series, um, it works better because of what this is, as opposed to The Boys. The Boys is a cynical look at what really real world attitudes and occurrences would be with people with superpowers. Um, Invincible is a superhero comic at its core. There's no attempt to make this world any more real than the real world of the Justice League or the real world of the Avengers in the comics. You've got aliens and multidimensional beings, and you all of the stuff right in the first couple of episodes. They make it clear that the only difference is, whereas The Boys say, let's take the superhero story and bring it to the real world, this says, let's take the Justice League and add real world consequences to what they do. And that's it. Seems like it's not a big difference, but it's a big difference.
Mm.
Luminous, why do you think Omni Man was not excited when his son got his powers? When Mark announced it at dinner, his mom had to prompt his dad to express excitement. I think that was pretty clear. that he knew that he had to, at that point, tell Mark about Viltrum and Viltrumites and lie and hope that he would be able to, at some point, bring Mark around.
Mm.
I think he knew at that point that, once Mark got his powers, it was either Mark's on board or Mark's dead. And I think that's why he wasn't terribly excited. Anyway, so I think I kind of jumped into my likes already, but we'll get to that. I agree 100% about the voice casting. The acting in this is absolutely superb. I mean, I'm a Walton Goggins stan forever, but boy, did he make Cecil work. And in a way that didn't sound like Walton Goggins. This did not sound, at all like his character in Justified, or in some of the, many of the other things he's done. There was no real country good old boy drawl in this whatsoever. And at times I forgot it was him. Stephen Yeun is perfect, as Mark, as Invincible, and J.K. Simmons. Oof.
Yeah, great job.
What a sense of menace.
It's good when you forget that it's the actor doing this.
Yep.
You get so absorbed in how the acting comes about.
But Zazie Beetz is his girlfriend Amber. Oh God, I can't remember her name. Gillian Jacobs is Adam Eve. The classic, not classic, but the legendary is probably too big word. Anyway, Gray Griffin, voice actor extraordinaire as Monster Girl.
Clancy Brown as Darkhold, Damien Darkhold.
Damien Darkhold, yep. Just Mahershala Ali as Titan. And this is, so I had mentioned, how deep they go into the cast of Walking Dead here. So a character named Rudy is played by Russ Marquand. And then we've got Lauren Cohan as War Woman. Michael Cudlitz as the original speedster Red Rush. Lenny James as Darkwing, the Batman analog. Sonequa Martin Green as Green Ghost. So essentially, The Walking Dead became just the dead. But just such an incredible cast. Michael Dorn as Battle Beast. Jimon Honsu as the Emperor of Mars. And of course, Ezra Miller as D.A. Sinclair, the guy who made the cyborgs. It's such an insanely good cast. They all just knocked it out of the park. Sandra Oh should get Emmy, I guess. I don't know what for series, whatever. For Debbie Grayson, for Mark's mom, Nolan's wife. Just, as dramatic as any dramatic work she's done, and that's what she's known for. I thought the animation was really good, and I'm going to jump over into a dislike here. While I liked the CGI for the most part, because they used it relatively sparingly, they used it for things like Adam Eve's power. Like, this is the one with her and Robot, when her, force field, it's not really force field because these are physical things. She makes stuff. But anyway, when her shield breaks, that was CG, but it was done in a way that looks quite a bit like actual drawn animation. And so, good on them. The compositing of some of that wasn't the best. There were times when, a flight path and a thing blowing up and it didn't quite match up. And again, like you said about some things about the story, about little, quibbles, that's pretty much a quibble. Yes, Mark Hamill was Art Rosenbaum, the costume maker. Fantastic job. Actually, there's anything else that, and of course the writing. I mean, but that's both Kirkman and this is pretty faithful to the comic, and the writers who adapted it, to a series. They did a fantastic job, without ever shying over into, gosh, we've got to make this something a little bit more realistic or whatever than the comic book is. They kept this as like I said, this is, it's exactly the world of the Justice League or the Avengers in the comics, but let's make the effects on normal people be real. And I love that. I mean, I'm not a gore fan. I don't particularly love seeing people get torn in half and stuff like that. I love the fact that it's in this show. And that's one of the problems with, any comic book or most comic book movies or TV shows, is that the amount of destruction that would happen in the wake of these people doing their thing is played down to, a minor fraction of what it really would be. And that doesn't mean when they go out of their way to do it, like in the big final fight, spoilers is all over the word, when Omni-Man goes out of his way to destroy as many humans as possible to show Mark how meaningless their lives are to him and to what he thinks should be any Viltrumite, including Mark. Even in just, the battles, where they're fighting off aliens or, people from other dimensions or whatever, thousands of people die horribly. And that's the realism that they decided to bring to this. And I love the realism of the character writing. When Amber, this is such a guy thing. I've been keeping this secret from you for so long, and now I've told you, so everything's okay. It's like, yeah, no, you've been lying to me.
Mm.
And he's like, but now, why I had to. It's like, nope, doesn't count. You've still been lying to me. You could have told me the truth at any time. And that is such an accurate read on a real relationship and how it falls apart that I was just blown away. I was like, okay, they're not playing here. So those are the things I like, and I gave you, I think I mentioned pretty much my only real dislike. Is a little bit of the compositing is a little off, and I agree where some of the actions of the characters seem a little. All right, I'll give you one more, and this is a minor dislike, but I think this may actually change going forward, but I don't know. They use John Hamm's security guard character and his former problematic son as a framing device at the very beginning of the very first episode, and then at the or sort of in the middle of the very first episode, or I guess at the beginning of the second. Anyway, whenever they're in Paris and all the trash comes down, and they never see that you never see these people again.
Mm.
And if you're going to use a framing device like that, you've got to give us something about where this goes. Otherwise, like, why did you write these people? Why do they exist?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. They were just showing the first episode, second episode. The son appeared with a friend in another episode, and then that's it. And I assumed that was just because we're gonna get answers for that later in the series.
Yeah,
that's how I understood that to be.
Yeah, I hope so. I would really like that to be the case. But other than that, I mean, I really like the way they. Like the way they brought the death of the Guardians of the Globe, the first Guardians of the Globe, into a real place by having Debbie sitting down with Red Rush's girlfriend, and her basically just ripping on superheroes in general, and all the secrecy and the danger and so on. And I really like that. I thought that was a really nice way of once again sort of cementing what the real world effects would be in this very not real world that's going to stay a very not real world. So that's pretty much my likes, and my one dislike. I wish I could come up with another one. It's only 8 episodes long in the first season. That's a dislike.
And they're about close to an hour long for
Yeah,
most of them.
they're about they're a little under an hour. I think they run anywhere from like 48 to 54 minutes, depending upon the specific episode.
Mm.
Um, so it is. I mean, it's a bit of a commitment, but it's not really any more of a commitment than if you were watching a 15 episode anime. So, um, so yeah, I really like it. I like it a lot. I guess since I can't think of anything bad to say about it, and I've said pretty much all the good, um, we might as well move into our messages, themes, tone, etc. Part of the show. Um, did you think it had a single coherent message? If so, what? Or there are multiple messages, or did it just not? Has it not presented a message yet at all?
It's well, it's a continuing series, so it's not a. Uh, I find that there's still going to be more episodes, so it's for me it's always hard to find out what's the actual central theme is. But there's certain things that keep popping up that I've noticed, like the fact that in a way Omni Man's language kept hinting that that he had some really strange values.
Yeah.
He'll say something odd that his wife will kind of look at him like, what did you say? And same thing with Mark at times. So it showed that there was like it he seemed like to be a really good person, and we didn't people don't catch that. So I don't know, it sort of reminded me of like how like in real life sometimes someone seems really nice and really awesome, and then you find out they've done horrible things, and then you kind of look at what they've said and done, and like the signs were there, we just didn't see it.
Yep.
I don't know if that was a theme, but that's something I caught. Definitely Mark and Omni Man's relationship is the central core, I think, of the story. The betrayal, the mystery of the Global Guardian's death, and how it's going to impact um, their mother, his wife. Um, so his mother, his wife, um, for the characters. They I think that's, and then I guess really it's like what would it be like to be a superhero, or a superhero son? What is that like growing up and finally gaining these powers? Feel like, okay, now my I feel almost like validated by my father. Like yeah, I'm a superhero now, just like him. I want to be like him. And then the realities of trying to be like your father.
Yeah.
Um, and may not be all cracked up as it can be. Um, that's what I saw so far.
I think if there's an overriding theme or message that I'm seeing out of this, um, and it's like I said, still to be played out, is honesty and transparency. Um, and you see how that affects everything. Nolan is not honest with Debbie or Mark or Cecil and the Global Council. He's not honest with anybody. Um, Mark is not honest with Amber, his girlfriend, about the fact that he's the superhero. Um, and even though it's a robot is not honest about who he was or what he was. Um, and and these are the good guys. Even Cecil isn't honest until kind of the end about just how much the the council um, is always working to you know potentially deal with the superhero problem if it becomes a problem. They're this okay, this is one more thing that kind of bothered me. At the end, the chemical in the water, the Global Council has put chemicals in every public water supply in the country that prevents people from seeing a particular spectrum of visible light. And so all of their secret research is done in a room that is only bathed in this light. And I'm like, okay. First off, well water? No. And second off, come on, don't feed the conspiracy trolls.
Hmm.
Oh, but anyway, it was a kind of a neat technology idea, but still, it was it smacked of, ooh, how are we going to come up with a way to make this so that nobody's ever seen this before, and then write down the first thing you think of. So that was a little weak, but even that shows that even Cecil, and I guess you would expect Cecil wouldn't, because he is sort of a CIA esque master manipulator behind the scenes, runs every blah blah blah, isn't honest
Mm.
or transparent. Um, Titan wasn't transparent about what his goal was in getting Invincible to help. Now, um, and it seems like part of what they're trying to get as a story is that we'll have to see how this plays out, but that um, naivete is a problem when there are huge stakes involved at at just accepting things at face value or blindly. Yes, all these people were either not transparent or straight up lying or whatever, but Mark kind of bought into every single one of them.
Mm.
And as you pointed out, even Cecil, just because because he didn't really want Omni Man to even consider that Omni Man could be evil, just never, he bought into the lie for a while.
It's interesting how much Omni-Man did not expect or even want his son to be a superhero. That's the fact that, yeah, you mentioned that he's Invincible is very naive about a lot of things.
Yep.
And like his first alien fight, he froze, and I'm surprised that his father, who's one of the greatest heroes ever, and fought all sorts of things, did not even talk to us, say, hey, this is what I went through today, this is what I did, and this is how I felt, and how I worked through that. None of that at all.
Yep.
Everything, almost everything, Invincible had to work on his own. Sure, Omni Man helping out with his powers still, but even I don't know. Even then, if I knew, if I was a superhero and I knew my son might have my powers, I would, even if he didn't have the powers, yeah, I would at least explain what I do. And I don't know. It just, you could tell that there's none of that at all with Omni Man.
And I wonder whether or not there was a certain amount of either he's got to figure out how to work this through himself, in which case he might come to my side more easily, or if he can't make it as a superhero, then my problem about what I do with him when it comes down to telling the real truth is solved. In the battle that ultimately where Titan took over from Machine Head, where Battle Beast basically just obliterated everybody. Um, you see Omni Man is just floating at the end when he realizes it's over and Mark is going to be saved. Omni Man is just floating outside the window. He's
Mm.
watching this going down and not doing anything about it. So yeah, so I think that that might have actually been part of Omni Man's motivation. Either he's got to grow up on his own, which may help him come to realizing where what Viltrumites are all about, or it won't be a problem.
Mm.
Um, Other than that, I think yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's of course overall there's the theme of family. You know, what will you do for family, or what can family keep you from doing? Um, and that's both actual family and found family. The teen team, and then ultimately the new Guardians um, become a family. Kind of dysfunctional because Rex is a jerk. Um, but there's another example of the whole idea of truth and naivete. You know, Rex had been cheating on Eve for who knows how long, and she just either didn't see it or ignored it until it it literally walked right out in front of her face.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so um, so yeah, so there's family as one theme, found family and actual family, and the importance of that family, and whether or not it's actually going to help you in any way. Um,
Not to sidetrack, but I really like that the character Adam Eve really thought about her powers and thought, hey, I probably could do more good in helping out with crops and with world hunger, things like that. I thought that was really interesting.
yep, Yeah, and it's interesting that somebody made the comparison that Adam Eve is essentially Lady Doctor Manhattan
Mm,
because her powers are essentially the same thing. She can rearrange matter and energy at a subatomic level, but she's very human. And Doctor Manhattan, when he becomes Doctor Manhattan, has essentially lost all his humanity, um, or there's just very little hints of it. He gets a little bit angry at people crowding around him in the television studio. He gets a little sad about humanity when he's on Mars. He gets a little hopeful after he talks to Sally. Um, um, but that's it. Um, just very little bits of emotion and humanity. Eve is, absolutely, a human person, a human woman, and it's wonderful that you get somebody who has her character is somebody who has all that ability and is a good enough person that doesn't think to take those abilities and do horrible things with it, but would rather do really good things with it. Um, and I think that's very cool. You're right. I think that she's a great character. I think they're all really good characters. They're all really innovative characters. I mean, the idea of Monster Girl, what a horrible power.
yeah.
Oh,
Aging backwards every time you use your powers. Ugh.
yeah, you know that at some point, you're essentially going to be an infant.
Yeah.
Unless you give up your, using your powers, and she won't give up using her powers because she knows she needs to do good.
See, the greatest temptation about this series is that now that the series is over, the comic book series is over, and there's like a lot of information online about the series and the characters. One can just go ahead and see what's the conclusion of that character's arc. And I have to say, the only one I broke I had to find out was Battle Beast. I was very curious about that character.
Yeah,
Because I really want a rematch between him and Invincible. I was like, oh, that's. I was like, I want that to happen again. But um, but but yeah, I think that's the one thing I have to be careful about. I don't want to get spoiled with season 2 and 3 with the series because there's so much information out there.
yeah. Luminous agrees. Yes, there's a lot of deception, and that gets explored. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the themes and the messages of this larger storyline go. Because I think it's pretty clear by the end of the series, this is going to expand out a lot.
Mm.
Um, and the things or people or whatever that they're dealing with won't necessarily be human. Um, and it'll be interesting to see how that is brought back into what ultimately have to be very human themes and messages. Because Kirkman's a human, he can't write in an alien mind. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I think so for me, wrapping up here, I guess it's actually a fairly short show because it's such a damn good show. There's nothing to complain about. Um, for me, I'm giving this an absolute recommend with the warning of insane levels of gore and blood, language, but not like crazy language. I mean, it's no worse than any realistic story about high schoolers.
Mm.
Um, I don't think there's anything. At some point down the road, and I'm not sure when they're going to get to this arc and what they do with it. And again, this is part of the problem. I have read some of the stuff going forward. There is some really, really problematic occurrences,
Mm.
like serious trigger warning kind of stuff. Um, that's not in this season. It shouldn't be in any of the next 2 or 3 seasons. Oh, and by the way, this was just renewed for both seasons 2 and 3 just this last week, and we covered it on Nerd Week Live on Tuesday. Um, so strong recommendation for me from me, with that one warning about extreme gore and blood.
Same here. So I definitely recommend this for anyone that loves superhero stories. This is it. But yeah, again, a lot of gore, Um, um, if family betrayal is something that you may not like a lot, then definitely don't watch this. Um, but yeah, it's an extremely good show.
Yep. We'll try to answer Illuminous's question as the last question. Any common themes or tropes in the villains? Um, so I think there's two, or there's two types of villains. There are very understandable villains, and then there are pretty much just, well, it's a cartoon, so cartoon evil villains. Um, the green skin antennaed extra dimensional aliens that attack are cartoon villains. There's nothing there. I mean, there's an interesting gimmick about their different times, different ways they deal with time and so on. But as far as any kind of motivation or anything like that, nothing. The Maulers, you kind of get a sense of why they're doing what they're doing, and they're to some small extent a little bit honorable. Titan, you understand why Titan is doing what Titan is doing. Um, but and then one could assume based on what we're told about the Viltrumite Empire, they're pretty much all cartoon level evil. Um, Ultimately, with possibly the exception of Omni Man. So yeah, I think there are two sort of Ezra Miller's character, Da what Da Sinclair, um, is cartoon evil, but is wonderful to see him multiple times because he's so wonderfully bad.
Mm.
I think that's great. But no, I don't think there are any real common themes or tropes in the villains other than you have some that you can understand and some that just they don't bother giving you anything to understand. They're just straight up evil.
Yeah, yeah. The villains are definitely complicated characters. Not one or two in the case of the Molo twins are the same.
Yeah, yeah. Even those clones aren't the same, which is
Yeah.
pretty funny. Um, but yeah, so that's a good, excellent question, Luminous. Thanks for asking that. So, folks, that's it. That is our show for tonight. We're going to leave you with a couple of teasers for upcoming shows, but we're also going to leave you with a request that you go visit us at patreon.com/nerdcaliber. And if you like it, join us. We have two very low dollar tiers. It's just there so that you can help us do more coverage of cons when cons come back soon, couple of months,
Mm.
maybe, and provide other content like this and other things that we do here on YouTube and on the website and so on. Coming up on Monday, it is No Nerd Caliber, the show in which we have a team that comes on and talks about some of our favorite or least favorite things, depending on what it is, with Mortal Kombat having come out recently, and it being next Thursday's Full Fat Spoiler Chat. No Nerd Caliber this Monday is top favorite martial arts movies or TV shows. And people have already posted. We've all posted our choices up there already, and it's pretty diverse. I gotta say, I'm pretty pleased. And Tuesday, of course, is Nerd Week Live. Please show up. We've just dumped a whole bunch of new stuff. No, I'm not giving anything away. If you haven't seen the Stranger Things teaser, two teasers, because I put a teaser for the teaser yesterday and then dropped the teaser today. It's Stranger Things. Go watch it. It's wonderful, super cool. But that will be on the docket as a bunch of other things. And of course, like I said, next Thursday, this Full Fat Spoiler Chat will be Mortal Kombat. So get over there. Anyway, sorry about that. Manny, any last words and a sign off?
Nothing comes to mind except that thank you everyone for watching, and please continue to support us.
Absolutely. Same. Thanks for watching. And please, as we do at the end of pretty much every show, get vaccinated. And in the meantime, until we reach that point where we're pretty sure we're safe, Continue to wash your hands. Continue to wear a mask where you feel it's appropriate or where you're told it's appropriate. Businesses are private operations. If they don't want you walking in that door without a mask, get out. And social distance when you can. There's no need to bump up against people. The old elbow bump. That's my go-to for cons from now on. So,
indeed.
Anyway, that said, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for the excellent chats, and we will see you next week. Yes, Luminous posted up an emoji with a mask on. Good call. We'll see you next week in one or many of our other shows. Bye-bye.
Take care.